Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnu Padaya Paramahamsa Parivrajacha Stotra Sati Divine Grace Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Padaya Paramahamsa Parivrajacha Stotra Sati Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Srila Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Ramachara Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड श्री गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवदीप माया धाम की जय। मैया की जय, यमुना मैया की जय। भक्ति शिरोमणि तुलसी महारानी की जय। प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक एंड प्रसाद डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। हरे कृष्ण दाम यूष्टन की जय। निताय गो प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembling devotees. All glories to assembling devotees. All glories to assembling. All glories to all glories to all glories to Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jayara Damadava Kunjabihari Jayara Damadava Kunjabihari Govijana Balava Girivardhari Govijana Balava Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tihira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayalanta Madhava Kunjabihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Nityalila Bhavishnu Mishtapad Paramahamsa Privajikacharya Stotada Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami, Savior of the world, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Iskcon BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 62, Text 9. Iti Uktam Kumatir Vishtam Svagriham Pravishan Lipam Pratikshan Kadishadesham Svam Viryam Nashanam Kudi Ityukta Kumatir Rishta Svagriham Pravishan Ripa Pratikshan Girishadesham Svavirya Nashanam Kudihi Ityukta Kumatir Rishta Svagri Pravisandripa Ityukta Kumatir Rishta Svagriham pravisan ripa pratikshan girisadesham Svaviryanasanam kudihi Ityukta kumatirishtaha Svagriham pravisan ripa pratikshan girisadesham Svavirya-sanam Agrisham Ravishan Pratikshan Girisadesham Svavirya-nasanam kudihi Ityukta kumatir-dishta Svagriham ravisan ripa Pratikshan girisadesham Svavirya-nasanam kudihi Ityukta kumatir-dishta Svagriham pravisan ripa Pratikshan girisadesham Svavirya-nasanam kudihi Svagriham pravisan ripa Pratikshan girisadesham Iti, thus, Uktan, spoken to, Kumati, foolish, Rishta, delighted, Sva, his own, Griyam, home, Pravishat, entered, Nripa, O king, Parikshit. Pratikshan, waiting for Girisa of Lord Shiva. Adesham, prediction. Svavirya, of his prowess. Nasanam, the destruction. Kudi, unintelligent. Translation and purport by by the followers, disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Thus advised, translation, thus advised, unintelligent Panasura was delighted. The fool then went home, O king, to wait for that which Lord Girisha had predicted, the destruction of his prowess. So Lord Girisha is Lord Shiva. Please repeat. Thus advised, unintelligent Banasura was delighted. The fool then went home, O king, to wait for that which Lord Girisha had predicted, the destruction of his prowess. Purport. Here, Banasura is described as Kudi, having bad intelligence, and Kumati, foolish, because he completely misunderstood the actual situation. The demon was so arrogant that he was convinced that no one could defeat him. He was delighted to hear that someone as powerful as Lord Shiva would come to fight with him and satisfy his itching for battle. Even though Shiva had said that this person would break would break Bana's flag and destroy his prowess, the demon was too foolish to take this statement seriously and eagerly awaited the fight. At the present moment, materialistic people are delighted by the many unprecedented facilities for sense gratification. Although it is clear that death, both individual and collective, is quickly approaching them, modern sense gratifiers are oblivious to their inevitable destruction. As stated in the Bhagavatam 2.1.4, Pasyanapi na pasyati. Even though their imminent destruction is apparent, they are too blind to see it, being intoxicated by sex enjoyment and family attachment. Similarly, Banasura was intoxicated with his material prowess and could not believe that he was about to be cut down to size. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tajman Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master has kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge, or that Jnana Anjana. I think that Anjana means ointment or salve also, no? Therefore I offer my most humble obeisances unto him. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So there's a few points from the first paragraph of the purport that we could pick up on. Of course, the text is implied. And the second paragraph of the purport is a wonderful opportunity to remind one another of the fundamentals of why we're here today. The fundamentals of why we chant Hare Krishna, why we refrain from certain activities, etc. Why we are doing what we're doing. So that, in other words, that's a very nice opportunity, the second paragraph. But there are some other more specific points. In the purport, it says, he completely misunderstood the actual situation. That was discussed yesterday also. He was intoxicated with his by pride, by his prowess. But that will apply more to the second paragraph when we get to that. It also says in the purport, he was itching for battle. So we have other examples of itching for battle that most of you, for some of you, are quite new, and so there's a few things that you'll have to try to get you up to speed on in this class. But if I use a term or say something or that doesn't compute, just raise your hand. I can interrupt and try to clarify for the newer participants. So anyone can think of any other examples? Jarasandha? He was also itching for battle. Okay, there was also Hiranyaksha. He was going in the ocean and he was breaking the waves, big waves in the ocean. He was kind of, what you could say, not dissolving, but breaking them into smaller waters, just with his sword. He was looking for someone, and he met, was it Varuna? He met the Lord of the Waters, and he said, "We have grown too old for fighting, but you'll find someone that will." It's almost exactly parallel situation. Another example is Bhimashen. He was really itching for a battle. In different situations, it was only because the culture was there that he was obedient to his older brother, Yudhisthira Maharaj. He was saying, Bharat, the Kauravas, with his bare hands. So instead of fighting then and there, at least he somewhat relieved his incredible frustration by making certain vows. He made 3 different vows, and he lived up to those vows, although it took some time. Bhima-Sen is another example. That term itching also applies to Hare Krishna. When the next paragraph, the whole dilemma of material entanglement. So the word itching also applies to sex. It's compared to an itching sensation. Maybe we'll get back to that point when we discuss the second paragraph of the purport. I'll read you the text again, the translation. So, you have it on the phone? All right, we're on text 9 of, as it says there, text 9, Canto 10, chapter 62, text 9. There's another example, like in a modern context, they have this. There was this actor, those from America, maybe even from India. If you've been in America, you may have heard the actor called Clint Eastwood. Maybe not. So he came up with this term. Of course, it was a script, and he said, "Make my day." So that came in several movies. They used that same term, "Make my day." In fact, it even spread to Kenya in Africa, and they called it "Make Me Day." Called it "Make Me Day." It almost became a whole culture. And what that means is that somebody is in a situation where someone is threatening to kill a hostage or to kill you, and he says, make your move. You make your move, you'll make my day. In other words, someone is so confident of his prowess. So this foolish but extremely powerful Banasura, he wanted someone to make his day. He was looking for a chance to exercise his prowess. Also quote Bhagavad Gita, but as disclosed in yesterday's class. But as was discussing yesterday, there's also a positive connotation to this idea of, besides being foolish and all that, but we have to give credit where credit was due. Vanasura was Kshatriya. I mean, he had some courage. Sometimes the demons they show some courage. So many pastimes where a great demon is killed, and then his relatives and friends come, even though, say in the case of Krishna, he's already showed his superiority and that you really don't have a chance. But that Kshatriya courage. On one hand, you could say they're foolish. On the other hand, you can say that they have some courage. Again, that Kshatriya Dharma in Bhagavad Gita, what is Krishna preaching to Arjuna on different levels? He says, "Svadharma mapi cha veksha navikambhitam ardhasi dharmyar diyudak shreyonyat kshatriyasya navidyate." Given your svadharmam, given your particular nature and duty as a kshatriya, there is no better activity for you than fighting on religious principles. What need is there? Navikambhitam ardhasi. It doesn't behoove you. There's no need ardhasi. It doesn't look good. It doesn't behoove you to hesitate. What need is there for hesitation? He says. And then the next text is also encouraging, like that Kshatriya spirit. Yadichchaya chupapanam svargad balam apavrita sukinak kshatriya or sukinak kshatriya parta labante what is it? idrisham, labante yudam idrisham. The yudam, this is the first time I quoted this text for about 34 years. So it's always fun. So it says that happy are those, sukhinag, happy are those Kshatriyas to whom yadrichchaya chopapanam, that such fighting opportunities come of its own accord. Yadrichchaya, it just comes. That word comes up in other places in Bhagavad Gita also. Yadrichchaya, and in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a concept that it comes by destiny. It just comes. You don't have to go looking for it. Opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. Krishna, he's preaching to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita on not many, but several very different levels, including on the level of karma. He's preaching on the level of karma. He's trying to tempt Arjuna on that level also. Because that was one of Arjuna's misgivings. So how will I be able to enjoy? Okay, you want to enjoy? You want to talk about karma? Hatova prapsyase svargam, jitva bhabokshyase. You can't lose. It's win-win, all for you. If you kill them, prapsyase svargam, you'll attain heavenly planet, svarga. And jitva, I got that backwards. It's hato, if you die in the battle, then you'll attain the heavenly planet. So on contrary, jitva, if you conquer, then bokshase mahim, you will enjoy the mahim, you'll enjoy this earth, mahim, this earthly planet. So, tasmat utista yujyasva naibam papam yujyasva. You just fight with determination, Arjuna. You can't lose. But Arjuna felt, of course, very differently, and he would lose no matter what he did or what he didn't do. That's why he finally surrendered to Krishna as his guru. Of course, Krishna's preaching this after Arjuna surrendered as a disciple and accepted Krishna as his guru. So we can see that there's both positive as well as negative connotations of this Kshatriya Dharma. When you're dealing with Krishna, of course, you might say that Banasura didn't know exactly who he's going to be dealing with, but Krishna was going to end up confronting him. After, in this chapter it describes, it's interesting, the next text makes a complete break and goes backwards to describe the background of the story, dealing with the daughter of Banasura, whose name was Usha, and then Aniruddha got into the picture, and then that was the background, that was the premise on which the confrontation is going to take place. The text also refers to certain words, and I'll add one to it. You have kudi, kumati. So ku, ku, that comes up in a lot of words. It means bad or wrong or contaminated. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we have that language, ku yoginaha, like bad yogis. So here, kudi and kumati. Di is like intelligence, mati is similar. So that was defined as having bad intelligence and just plain foolish. So there's another word, kubudi. That means one has bad intelligence, and let's refer to that. That will relate to the second paragraph. Okay, I wrote in my notes here. Now dive into the last paragraph, including this term, unprecedented facilities for sense gratification. I don't want to disagree with the purport, but we can qualify that a little bit. In terms of conventional, worldly history, you might say it's just unprecedented. In other words, without any precedent, without any historical competition, you might say. It's incredible, and technology has certainly not made people happy, but at least given them, they want more sense gratification, work a little harder, make some more money, and then buy the latest iPhone or this or that or whatever. But then again, in terms of the larger picture, there are whole situations where there is amazing arrangements for sense gratification. Again, heavenly planets, and what the Bila Sparga means, the subterranean. Bila means whole. The subterranean heavenly planet. I don't want to tell you, the new men will want to go there. Or maybe not. Maybe you're actually pious. I don't know. We hippies back in the 60s, we would get distracted by hearing about it. They even smoke marijuana in those planets. It's even mentioned. You can find that. And I won't go into what goes on there because it could be very distracting, just as it's very distracting in general. And also Prahlad Maharaj, he's teaching his classmates, and he asks a rhetorical question. He says, Koti prayasho surabalaka harer. I think I need a little crib sheet here. Upashane sve ridi chindravat sata svasyatmanam sakyur ashesha dehinam samanyata kim vishayo padanai. So that kim vishayo papadanai, that's very interesting. Prahlad Maharaj is saying, oh my friends, sons of the Asuras, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Supersoul feature is always exist within the cores of the hearts of all living entities. Indeed, he is the well-wisher and friend of all living entities, and there is no difficulty in worshipping the Lord. Patram pushpam phalam. Why then should people not engage in his devotional service? Why are they so busy artificially manufacturing artificial articles for sense gratification? That's all that is kim vishayo papadanai. All right, so now, again, we're in the second paragraph. Materialistic people are delighted by the many unprecedented facilities for sense gratification, although it is clear that death, both individual and collective, is quickly approaching them. Modern sense gratifiers are oblivious to their inevitable destruction. Of course, even back at the Vedic times, it's referred to the pashyanapi na pashyati. Again, this concept I mentioned in our other classes here and elsewhere, that came up even centuries ago, that idea that you can have cognition without recognition. You can have knowledge without acknowledging. See, that's the point. That's why pashyan means cognition, not pashyati, but without recognition. What are they not recognizing? Tesham pramatam nidanam. Nidanam is their inevitable destruction. You ask anybody, they say, do you think you're going to die someday? Of course. Men are mortal. Of course I'm going to die. But, so pashyan api, they see it, but are you going to do anything about it? There was a song, so many songs where they're teaching Kali Yuga nonsense philosophy. One was, you got to live till you die. There's another one, enjoy yourself. It's later than you think. Enjoy yourself while you're still in the pink. And it's not just modern, but even going back to many, many years ago, the famous Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. They probably still make you learn that in high school and college. It talks about the potter is going to come and make us all into mud again, but in the caravan is going, and in the meantime, enjoy yourself. A loaf of bread, a jug of wine, and thou besides me in the wilderness. Oh, wilderness is paradise, see now. So even though it's almost like a subterranean heavenly planet situation, the author knows, or the person speaking, he knows that it's temporary. We're only here temporarily. We're just like vessels. It's just we're going to get annihilated. But still, let's enjoy. Gather your rosebuds while you may. They taught us that in high school. It's called carpe diem. Seize the day, you know. So that's a nonsense proposal. Well, maybe it's not completely nonsense if you're convinced that there's no life after death and there's no way of karma. If that's your conviction and you're really convinced like that, then there really isn't much basis for any kind of strong ethical or moral sense, other than you scratch my back, I thieves. So kubuddhi is bad intelligence. We have that in Bhagavad Gita also, that maya prita gyan, that intelligence is stolen, or kamaistai hita rita gyana. Rita means stolen there, jnana, knowledge is stolen by lust, or by lust in general, desire for sense gratification. So that spoils our intelligence and distracts us like anything from the vyavasyatmika buddhi, the single-minded intelligence that's required to worship Krishna in increasing intensity. Then we have to get to that point. Manmana bhava madbhakto. You're just always thinking of me. Mayi eva mana adatsvya, mayi buddhim niveshaya, nivashishasi mayi eva, atam urdvam na shamshaya. In the top echelon of different levels that one could practice devotional service, the most advanced is described in chapter 12, starting with text 809. Krishna's always think of me 24 hours a day. Use all your intelligence in me all the time, non-stop, 24/7. Then you will come to me without any doubt. Great. If you can't do that, then follow the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga. If you can't do that, then just work for me, karma yoga in some way. If you can't even do that, then it's not even devotional service anymore, but at least you can renounce and attain peace of mind, etc., etc. Chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita. So, I'm talking now about the problem of material entanglement, and in a couple of minutes we'll say something about the solution. The solution is also there. This whole Krishna conscious movement is a solution, or the solution, to the whole problem of getting going through the cycle of birth and death. Now, those who are new, you have to become fixed in intelligence by reading Bhagavad Gita and reading about reincarnation and seeing how it's all coherent. In other words, it's a coherency theory of truth. In other words, it all fits together very nicely, and not just simply some empirical, because most of us don't remember our past lives, although some people do. But it's important, because without that understanding of the immortality of the actual self or the soul, then one may have doubts about, there was a movie called The Bigger They Are, the Harder They Fall. That was a pretty wild movie. It says, you talk about the pie up in the sky. I'm being the devil's advocate here. Oh, the deities don't want me to say this. Oh, no. Jai Shri Nilamadava ki jai, Shri Gornitai ki jai, Shri Giriraj ki jai. Hare Krishna. You talk about the pie up in the sky waiting for me when I die, something like that. In other words, it's making fun of the idea of pie in the sky, that, because there's so much cheating in religious communities and so much cheating going on that, it's natural to become skeptical. And then you have modern science giving you a whole different paradigm and seemingly proving that, what you see is what you get, or not always, but that all there is matter and the laws of physics, and maybe gravity, if you like. So, so the sense gratification is really, you might say you can't avoid it. If we don't have any sense gratification, then there's a second paragraph. If you don't have any sense gratification, then it's like committing suicide. You have to eat. Even the 6 Goswamis, they ate something, teeny. So it has to be, as Krishna told Arjuna, niyamya bharatar shabad. What is it? Tasmat tvam indriyanyado niyamya. So right at the beginning, right, first entry level, first thing is niyamya, regulation. So, and we'll talk about the solution, a kind of regulation we should follow. There has to be some austerity. Without any austerity, we're just animals. It's the difference between human being and animal. I mean, on a very external way of defining the difference is that with the animal you have Pavlov's dog. You have a stimulus and response, and it's just the only way it's going to be interfered with is if you train a dog to control itself, but it's only responding to another stimulus, like the threat of getting whacked with a big stick or something. So, but with a human being, you get the stimulus, and then before the response, you can say, wait, I feel like doing that. I feel like smashing this guy in the face and giving him a fist sandwich, a knuckle sandwich. He's insulted me so much, but I don't really want to get arrested, and it'll probably mess up my hand, and it'll be kind of messy, and then again he may have a gun, and your intelligence starts kicking in there. So hopefully there's some, and children don't have too much of that, but at least in adults they have. So that's human life, at least adult human life. There's intelligence is there. Even children have some beginning. So this in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 4th canto, it gives a warning. There's a very brilliant analogy there. 8:15. What the time limit is 8:30? Is that when everybody runs away? 8:30. I try to leave at least 5 minutes for discussion. Vishaya Indriya Vishaya Kritstai Akshiptam Dayato Manaha Chaitanam Harate Buder Stambastoyam Ivaradat. So this is an analogy of the stamba. Stamba is a very tall, I may have said this here before, very tall grass on the banks of a river. They suck up the water of the river. They're so demanding. They just suck it up. So that's compared to sense gratification. What does it suck up? What is the river compared to, or the pond? Our intelligence. There it is. In other words, a human being, we have big brain, have parts of the brain, intelligence, and all that. There's a left brain, right brain, big brain. Anyway, no time for too many digress. And I will start kind of giving some hints about the solution. In Bhagavad Gita 269, there's night and day verse. What is night for all beings is a time of awakening for the self-control, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. So we hear words like self-controlled, introspective. It's a fundamental paradigm shift that's being demanded of us in the Bhagavad Gita. Now that's necessary but not sufficient, because you have to not only become determined to become self-realized, but you have to also include Krishna in your agenda. If you don't, then you may get somewhere. You may become self-realized, aham brahmasmi, but it's not sufficient, not stable either. So you have to make that shift. In the purport to that verse, Srila Prabhupada says, Bhagavad Gita, that's 269, he says, there are two kinds of intelligent men. One class is intelligent for sense gratification, and the other is intelligent in consciousness. Krishna himself talks about Krishna, surrender unto him, love for him, and the completeness, how Krishna consciousness includes all those other goals, like the last verse of chapter 8. Anyway, it's not a Bhagavad Gita class, but Krishna. But in this verse, Srila Prabhupada doesn't anticipate or look ahead. He just stays that self-realization, and it's quite an important point. So, of course, Banasura was very far from this. Let's see, where are we? Excuse the interruption. Maybe next time I should use a bigger piece of paper. Anti-Leela and glasses intolerant. So that we were talking about the tall grasses on the bank. So how does that work? So that's the thing. I think I made the point that kind of uses up our intelligence, and then we don't know. We're not functioning. We're not undergoing that paradigm shift. We're just sticking with the default mode. Default mode, especially in Kali Yuga, is passion and ignorance, which is what is happiness in the mode of passion? What is it? That yatad agre mritopamam. It's just like nectar at the beginning. Vishaya, how does it go? And then at the end, it doesn't take too long. It usually becomes like poison. So the mode of passion always ends up in misery. So what to speak of passion when you combine it with ignorance? It can become demoniac. So it really distracts us from this Vyavasya. And in Bhagavad Gita, getting back to the second chapter, then we have Bhogaishvara Prashaktanam Taya Prita Chetasam Vyavasyatmika Buddhi Samadho Navadiyate. We need that we need to focus our intelligence, single-minded intelligence. How can I become Krishna conscious? How can I please Krishna? How can I realize that I'm part of Krishna? In one sense, I'm one with Krishna. And at the same time, I'm different because I'm just Anu and he's Vibhu. I'm just a tiny servant and he's eternally my master. How can I focus my attention on that despite so much distraction? Socially speaking, most people, they say, what do you guys think? What is this all about? Get with it. Make some money. Or, you can make money for Krishna also. But it's so distracting socially. And then individually, it's so distracting. So another thing about the sense gratification is that it makes us oblivious, just like Banasura, just oblivious to the fact that death is coming to get us. That's why Uddhava, he was saying that dastam janam sampatitam bilesmin kalahina shudra sukoru tarsham it really like, just kind of like puts it right in your face. Uddhava is such a great devotee of Krishna, and he's humbly requesting of Krishna, Samudarainam kripaya pavargayar pachobhira sincha mahanubhava. He's saying, please save this living entity. Has fallen into the hole, like bile, like the subterranean, fallen into the hole of material existence, where the snake of time is biting him. Snake of time, the kalasarpa, the snake of time is biting him. And yet, despite that situation, see, this is the funny thing, and not so funny thing about sense gratification when it's not really regulated, is that it distracts us from the goal of life, and it also distracts us from what's right in front of us. Ahanyahani bhutani gachanti hayamaliyam sheshak stavara ichtanti kimas trayata takparan. What's the most wonderful thing in the world? People are dying, thousands of living entities leaving their bodies every second, and nobody gives a hoot. Nobody cares for it. Everybody's living, again, that cognition without recognition. People will say, yeah, I know I'm going to die. Of course I know I'm going to die. But that's irrelevant. My main business is to enjoy, make money and enjoy. No moksha, just artha kam, and very little dharma. Just enjoy. So that's the most wonderful king. Kimas chayara takparan is the most wonderful thing in the world. It's even more wonderful than cauliflower pakoras. It's the most wonderful thing in the world, is this fact that everybody's oblivious. So Uddhava, he's saying that despite the fact that they're in this situation, and we're all in it, we're sitting here in this room, it's not like, of course it's transcendental if we're on the platform of spirit soul and Krishna consciousness, but materially speaking, being in this room is not going to save us from having to change bodies. And it can happen at any moment, and the older you get, the more probable it could happen right now. Look at Maharaj Kadvanga. He only had a moment, and he found out. In his case, he became Krishna conscious in just a second. Can we do that? So we have to practice. So here's the thing here. Kshudra sukho ura tarsham. That kshudra sukha, kshudra sukha, from some insignificant happiness. I'll tell you a very earthy story. Now, in 1966, I was not all there. I was under the effects of LSD. When I would speak with Prabhupada, I was really, not really in my right mind at all. So I'm not going to say, I don't give this story in interviews, or I wouldn't put it, like on the record. But I have a pretty vivid memory of this, and it's not unlike what Prabhupada would say. That Prabhupada asked the devotee hippies, he said, and Prabhupada smiled and said, simply itching. No, that's wrong. Simply squeezing. Simply squeezing. Just in one word. Just squeeze some pleasure. Squeezing. I don't have to get too graphic. But if you think about it, that's all it is. Just squeezing. So, trying to squeeze some pleasure out of these bodies. Okay, despite the fact that the kshudra, not kshudra, but Ksudra, it's kshudra means, that's in Bhagavad Gita also in chapter 2. Kshudra sukha, the sukha is very insignificant, really, when you think about it. I gave the example here of cotton candy. The child eats a big cotton candy, just gets a little sticky stuff and nothing. Where's the pleasure really? What does it really consist? Simply squeezing? The ultimate pleasure is simply squeezing? And yet, uru tarsham, the way the translation is given, is that has tremendous desire to relish the most insignificant material happiness. This is so foolish, so childish, so inappropriate for this amazing human form of life. It's like if you have a jet plane, Lear jet, you have your own private jet, and all you can do with it is think about just starting the engine, or maybe, go from here to San Antonio or something. Whereas that same jet could take you to Paris or China or Peking or Vrindavan. You see, you just are not using it. We have this amazing facility. It's described as a good boat, a very fit boat for crossing the ocean of birth and death. The Guru is the captain. The favorable winds are the Vedas. So I'm just about getting out of time. So, Hare Krishna. So you're not supposed to say that in public speaking. Don't make vocalized pauses like and don't keep saying so and all that. So I'll try to avoid that. We're just about finished. So all right, so the solution is that Srila Prabhupada has given us the solution, Chant Hare Krishna, and there has to be some, without austerity, there can't be self-realization. Because we have to, we're not there yet, we're not realized, so it has to be by discipline. No meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. Sometimes it's not easy, especially at the beginning. So that's the point. Otherwise, the kind of austerities that people used to do, there's no way we can even begin to do that. I won't, some of you know, Jadbara to Maharaj Rahugana, he mentioned those austerities. Don't quite make it. So we can't perform these kind of intense ascetic practices. But at least this little austerity that Prabhupada gave us, and it's kind of necessary. It's necessary. I mean, you could chant Hare Krishna, if you're breaking all the four regular principles every day, still chant Hare Krishna. Somehow or another chant Hare Krishna. But if you want to make progress, if you want to actually, make progress in self-realization, Krishna consciousness, then these four regular principles are completely mandatory, and that's why initiation, it's hardwired into the practice. Unbridled, unregulated sense gratification destroys intelligence, wastes valuable time, increases our karma bandhana, entanglement, etc., etc. Manasura became intoxicated by his prowess, unaware that they were, quote, borrowed plumes, gifts from God, Krishna, who can also take them away. And so that's Manasura was Jai, Shishi Nilamadhava ki Jai. So he was very typical of that, what was being referred to, not just in Kali Yuga, but even before Kali Yuga, that Dehapatya kalatratish atmasanyashvar satsvapi tesham pramatak nidanam parshana pi napashati. That verse is very central, is very foundational, because it tells it gives the big picture of how we're distracted by thinking that we'll be protected by the fallible soldiers of body, mind, house, wife, husband, and not taking into account our inevitable destruction. Just allow me one more reference, and then we could finish, or if anyone has the stamina, they could ask a question, and I'm willing to serve. Ma mrityur antike agatam niyamanasya vadasyeva natushti daha. This is 11th canto. It really, I don't know, maybe you don't want to hear this. It's too shocking, it's too strong. But you're big boys and girls, so I'm going to lay it on you. It says that death is not very pleasant. death is not pleasing. No, it's not. Death is not pleasing. So how could, and yet it's so close. Antike means it's very, very close. Everyone is just like a man condemned to be executed, say the next morning, very soon. We're all in that position. We're like niyamanasya, with someone being led to the place of execution. Therefore, how could anybody derive happiness from the objects, material objects, and the pleasure that they afford? It's just completely insane that you could become happy, someone could be happy when we're, and then in the purport, I guess Damodara Maharaj writes that it's a custom all over the world to offer a condemned prisoner his last dinner. And he can get whatever he wants, veggie, non-veggie, whatever he always liked. He can get as much of it as he wants, he can get any variety. I guess they have a whole bunch of crew of cooks, he's going to die the next morning, so they give him a last, it's kind of like etiquette. I don't know if they still do it. They probably do in some places. And how could the prisoner enjoy that? Every morsel is a reminder of his imminent, electric chair, needle, gas, rope. I mean, there's many ways to do it, So that's our position. We are condemned. We're on death row. You don't like to hear that. But it's a fact. It's reality. And there's something we can do about it. The Vedas say, what is it? Mrityu ma amrita gama. Stop taking temporary material bodies. Become immortal. Well, we're already immortal. But if we're in ignorance, we don't understand that. So where we were before Srila Prabhupada gave us his mercy. And if I had time, I have to stop now, but if I had time, I would be discussing an interesting idea of Nivritti Marg and Pravriti Marg. After we're officially finished with the class, which is just about now, if anyone's interested, we can discuss that, but I guess we have things we have to do. But it's interesting how those two concepts apply for our Iskcon application, the path of enjoyment and the path of renunciation, or what to do and what not to do. So those terms kind of bring out some of the culture and some of the deeper sense of what we're really doing and what we're not doing, and why we do what we do and why we don't do what we don't do. So thank you for your kind attention, and I went 5 minutes overtime. So if anyone, now the class is over, you can all leave, there's no offense, but if anybody has a question, I'm willing to sit for that. I'd love to. I just don't want to impose. It's a voluntary attendance now. The attendance is voluntary now. It's interesting because the question is: are we in Iskcon, say, in Prabhupada's society, Iskcon? So are we practicing Nivritti Marg or Pravriti Marg? This could be a whole Iskcon, it could go on for hours. But just to be, what my own understanding is that there are three answers. One is we're practicing Nivritti Marg, one is we're practicing Pravriti Marg, and one is that we're practicing both. All three answers apply. We're practicing Nivritti Marg, because no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. And Prabhupada would say that we have to get eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, we have to get it down to nil. Nil means zero. We can't imitate the 6 Goswamis, but we have to emulate them. We have to try to reduce. That's the success. So there is Nivritti Marg. And then Pravriti Marg, Because yukta vairagya, because we use everything. It's a positive. We use everything in Krishna's service. We try to. We shouldn't try to use things we're not ready to use, but if we're mature enough, we could use anything to serve Krishna, almost anything. We're active. We do things. It's not just negative. It's positive. And also Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur famously said that he prefers the pravritti, not anartha nivritti, but artha pravritti. That accepting, he preferred that. That's more advanced and more solid, is to the positive pravritti, to accept it rather than nivritti. Just the whole idea of rejecting. Of course, it goes like that. The more we're able to reduce unnecessary engagement of the senses, then the more that we're able to use the senses in a positive way. So it's both, and then it's also it's one, the other, and it's also both. Even in terms within Iskcon, we have more pravritti marg grihastha ashram, and we have more nivritti marg brahmachari sannyas ashram. Isn't it? So there's some flexibility there. We have, of course, grihasthas can also be on the path of nivritti. Prabhupada used the term grihastha brahmachari. That is also there. Gaur Govinda Maharaj, very great devotee, he was grihastha. And he only engaged his sense for producing children, and no other time at all. That shows nivritti. So there could be different applications. But again, in terms of the fundamental paradigm shift, aside from devotees, anybody that wants to kind of be human and make use of the human form of life and try to overcome the samsara, then one has to, in general, the default mode is people in the pravritti, the path of enjoyment, and they should start to practice nivritti, or they should start to control the senses, learn how to renounce, and like that. It's like the tortoise example is there. So, you have any other idea? Or? It's all right? Okay. Yes, Sarvabhauma Prabhu. Sanskrit scholar gives class, again, he gives class often. I'm not the Sanskrit scholar, but as far as I know, that pra is something, or augmenting something, or intensifying something, and ni is not. So it's and vritti is like occupation, isn't it? Vritti. So I don't know. I'm just speculating. Shouldn't speculate on the Vyasa-san. In my next lifetime, I plan to. It's learning Sanskrit. It's not absolutely essential, but it's helpful. You can answer a question like that. All right, thank you all so much for your kind attention. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thakur Premanandi. Sunday Love Feast ki jai.